Okay, so today we're talking about a massive new energy project on the Texas Gulf Coast. And this is a fascinating one because it's a story of incredible ambition that almost immediately split into two completely different tales. One of a bright future, and another, well, that said it was already over before it began. So let's just dive right into what was announced. A startup based out of Houston has laid out plans for a project of just an unbelievable scale, right there on the border of Texas and Louisiana. I mean, this is a truly bold vision for the future of energy, and it's happening right in the heart of what you normally call oil country. Now get this. The absolute centerpiece of this whole thing is a floating solar plant that's designed to generate a staggering 391 megawatts of power. To give you some perspective, that would make it the largest floating solar setup in the entire United States and the third largest in the whole world. That's a big deal. The official name for this whole venture is the Pleasure Island Power Collective. It's the brainchild of a company called Diligence Offshore Services, and they're planning to build it on nearly 2,300 acres across Sabine Lake and Port Arthur's Pleasure Island. So, what in the world is a power collective? Well, the plans that have been laid out describe something way more complex and integrated than just, a field of solar panels. It's really designed to be a complete, multifaceted energy hub. And as you can see, this thing is built on four main pillars. You've got that massive floating solar plant we talked about, a 225-megawatt onshore wind farm, a huge battery storage system, and get this, even a self-sustaining AI data center that's going to be powered by all the energy created right there on site. And the impact isn't just about electricity. The project's founder, a guy named Harry C. Crawford III, said the whole collective could bring almost 1,500 new jobs to the Port Arthur area. And he really stressed that they'd be hiring locally to help boost the community's economy. Now, here's a really critical point that the founder made right from the start. He went on the record to be crystal clear that this venture is financially independent. He said, "We didn't need their money," and flat out confirmed they are not using any federal subsidies. Okay? Tuck that detail away because it's about to become very, very important. So, just as this huge, ambitious vision was being rolled out and celebrated, a completely different story popped up in a local political publication. And it painted a picture that, honestly, could not have been more different. All of a sudden, it wasn't one story anymore. There were two. And that second story was basically a death notice for the entire project. The claim, which came from Philip Klein in the Southeast Texas Political Review, was just blunt. It didn't say the project was in trouble or delayed. It said it was dead, over, done. So you have to ask, what was the reason? According to the article, the project was killed because it was supposedly defunded by the Trump administration, pointing to a memorandum that targeted wind farms. Okay, so let's just stop for a second here. This leaves us with two narratives that are polar opposites. On one side, you have the developer saying the project is moving ahead with zero federal money. And on the other, you have a report saying the project is dead specifically because of federal money. How can both of these things possibly be true? And here it is, the core conflict, laid out side by side. Klein's article pins the project's death on suspended federal funding, but the project's founder has repeatedly said they never used any federal subsidies in the first place. Something is definitely not adding up here. This brings us to the most important question of all. When you're faced with two conflicting stories, you have to look at the evidence. You have to ask for the receipts, right? So what proof did that article actually offer to back up its claim that this specific project was defunded? Well, the article by Philip Klein did cite a source. It pointed to a Reuters report from back in December. And that report did in fact detail the suspension of leases for several big wind projects. But here's where the details become absolutely critical. That same Reuters report explicitly states that the projects being suspended were offshore wind farms, located off the U.S. East Coast. And this, right here, is the crucial disconnect. This is where the whole claim seems to fall apart. When you put the facts next to each other, it's pretty clear. The Port Arthur project is an onshore wind and solar project on the Gulf Coast of Texas. The evidence used to claim it's dead is about completely different, unrelated, offshore wind projects on the East Coast. They're not just in different places, they're fundamentally different types of projects. So with these two completely different stories out there, one based on the developer's plans and the other based on what looks like mismatched evidence, what does this all mean for the actual future of the Pleasure Island Power Collective? Well, despite that conflicting report, the developer says nothing has changed. They insist the project is still moving forward right on its public timeline. The lease was secured in May. They're expecting to break ground on a substation pretty soon, and the goal for being fully operational is still 2031. And let's remember what hangs in the balance here, because it's pretty significant. We're talking about a major investment in the Port Arthur community, almost 1,500 jobs, and a landmark renewable energy project that would really put the U.S. on the map for this kind of technology. And all of this leaves us with a final and I think critical question. This isn't just about one project. It's a perfect case study in how easily misinformation can spread. You've got one narrative built on the project's actual specific details, and another built on what seems to be misapplied evidence. For the community and investors, telling the difference is everything. It really makes you wonder, in a world where information moves so fast, how carefully are we all checking the source?